House Bill 1405 by McCormick and others, relative to motor vehicles in which a firearm or firearm ammunition may be transported or stored by a handgun carry permit holder. Madam Speaker, members, the Senate bill is on the desk. Madam Speaker, members, also this was rolled previously to the heel of today's calendar. It's page 4, item number 2, page 4, item number 2.
Leader McCormick, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to substitute and conform the Senate bill.
Leader McCormick moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1701, properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Leader McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill clarifies legislation passed last session that gave individuals with a handgun permit the right to transport their firearm to and from work. The original language of the legislation stated that the holder of a valid handgun carry permit may transport and store a firearm in the permit holder's privately owned motor vehicle. This bill simply defines privately owned as whatever vehicle an individual happens to lawfully possess at the time. An example might be a spouse's vehicle or a son or a daughter's vehicle that you have borrowed. And with that explanation, pending questions, I would move passage on third and final.
Leader McCormick moves passage of Senate Bill 1701 on third and final consideration, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call the First Amendment.
House Amendment 1, spread on the member's desk by Representative Pody.
Representative Pody, you are recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. Members, I like this bill. In fact, this is a bill that I actually carried as an amendment last year, almost word for word, and so I'm very much in favor of the bill that's there. However, in order to make it a little bit better, I filed an amendment that's going to do basically two things. First, if anybody has legal possession of a car, anything that they legally own, they're allowed to have in that car and drive it to work. And the second thing is, if they do, they can't be fired for doing it. That's all this amendment is trying to do. Just if it's in my car, I legally have possession, legally own it, I can drive it to work, and I can't be fired for it. That's all that my amendment is trying to do.
Leader McCormick, you seek recognition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I will defer to the clerk for a specific explanation. I don't necessarily disagree with the intent of the amendment. I'm not sure we have the right vehicle to move this amendment forward. If I could defer to the clerk and then be recognized again to make a motion, I would appreciate it, Madam Speaker.
Mr. Clerk.
Madam Speaker, members, it would be the intent to rule the amendment outside of the scope of the caption. Legal Services reviewed the caption of the bill. Article 2, Section 17 of the Tennessee Constitution provides in a relevant part that no bill shall become a law which embraces more than one subject. That subject is to be expressed in the title. While 1701 opens the relevant statutory scheme, its subject within the statutory scheme is restricted by the clause relative to motor vehicles in or on which a firearm or firearm ammunition may be transported in order to be stored by a handgun or carry permit holder. The amendment contemplates personal property beyond motor vehicles and would apply to persons in addition to the permit holders. The amendment is broader than the subject expressed in the caption. So Senate Bill 1701 would violate Article 2, Section 17 of the Tennessee Constitution, so it would be ruled as beyond the scope of the caption.
Leader McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I think that tells us that this amendment falls outside the caption of the bill, regardless if it's a good idea or not. I would say that I don't think we've had a situation yet where an employer has fired someone simply for having a handgun on their property. If we find out that that is happening, I think you'll see this General Assembly act very quickly to correct that situation. I just don't believe that this is the vehicle we want to use to try to do that. And I would add that this same amendment was attempted to be put on in the Senate and was defeated over there. Generally, I wouldn't care what the Senate did, but I think it's good to point out that they did have this debate over there. So with that explanation, I would move this amendment to the table.
Proper motion, properly second. The parliamentary situation is that Representative Pody has moved adoption of amendment number 1. Representative McCormick has moved that motion to the table. That cuts off all debate except for that of the sponsor. Representative Pody, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And far be it from me, I'm not an attorney to say exactly if it is. This is as close to a caption as I could get. I believe it did fall within it because this is specifically talking about the vehicle, and we are talking about the handguns. I tried to keep it. This is the closest one that I could find. Normally, I would not bring an amendment such as this onto the floor. However, I've not been in any of the committees where it could be, so this is the only time that I could put something like this on it at this point. So with that, I do ask that you support this amendment and not move it to the table.
Parliamentary situation is that Representative Pody has moved the adoption of amendment number 1. Leader McCormick has moved that motion to the table. We're voting on the tabling motion. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 45, 29 nays, one present not voting.
The ayes have it. The motion is tabled. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Leader McCormick.